Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupine Fiasco. This is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today, for the first time in a long time, we have a game against OG Dash. For anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now and compare that to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future, to take down paper events like the upcoming calling in Los Angeles, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, a FaB deck link is available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. If you have a few extra dollars to kick around, the best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you DFG Discord access. At higher tier levels, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week, and there are even more benefits to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Let's talk about our sideboard for the Dash matchup. It has certainly been a while since I've queued into Dash Inventor Extraordinaire, and I'm happy to be able to bring you the game. I'm not sure how big of a mover and shaker she will be in the upcoming Pro Tour meta. It's been a while since Dash has really excelled, and I think her hybrid lists are a bit under par for what we would expect an aggro deck to do at this point. My understanding is hybrid Dash still has a fine matchup against Guardian and Victor in particular, but I do think she tends to lose races to other aggro decks and might not be well represented as a result. Slab Dash is kind of a different beast. She does very, very well against Guardian. I think she has the outlast potential for a hero like Kayo, who fatigues himself very quickly, but against other aggro decks like FaB or Katsu, I'm not 100%. So all of this is to say that Dash might be a bit uncommon as we move towards Los Angeles, but I don't think we can ever write her off. As far as sideboarding for Dash goes, we do need to split the difference between Slab Dash and Hybrid, given that we don't know what our Dash is going to be doing. If I knew for a fact that this was a hybrid build and that she would be boosting into us, I think I'd be inclined to bring Heartened Crosstrap here. But Spring Tunic works well against Boost. Boost games can certainly go long, and you can get into these grindy endgame scenarios where you're getting multiple activations out of Tunic every game, and at the very least, it does block for one. The image not found here is Wrecker Romp. I don't know why Talishar had an issue with it today, but that is what image not found is. We are boarding out our E-strikes as we need to make room for our smashing performances, and we want to keep our card count at a minimum. I'm at 62 out of 60 here. I might consider going down to 61 or 60 if I was going to play this game again. Savage Beatdown, very likely to cut here. It is a concession to Slab Dash, but I think the matchup might be winnable without it. The important thing is that we get to our smashing performances, which are always great against Dash. Against Boost Dash, we are sniping an early game Teklo Pounder or Induction Chamber. Even a Teklo Core is going to slow her down. Against Slab Dash, we are sniping that early Induction Chamber. Either way, Dash is at a huge disadvantage without her item, and the sooner we can find smashing performance, the better off we are. Outside of that, we're playing a normal aggro game. Our deck doesn't block very well. Usually we won't need it to block. Dash should be playing more of a value-based game where she is using extraneous cards to block. The one thing we want to keep in mind is our Scowling Fleshbag is great at stopping a maximum velocity turn. If Dash is telegraphing it, which I believe she will in this game. We want to throw that flesh bag as soon as we recognize what's happening. If she can play the max V out of Arsenal, we're in a lot more trouble. We have to be a little smarter about it. But since the introduction of Twin Drive, Dash is much more capable of playing the entire combo out of hand, and we can be on the lookout for it. So let's get into the game itself. We will be going first in this game. Dash likely falling prey to the Talishar interface here. I've had some issue with it myself, depending on how you try to equip your arm or leg slot. Most likely you could wind up not using your adaptive plating. I don't believe it's going to be very relevant in this game. We can pay attention to times when Dash might have wanted to block for 3 or even just 1, but I am pretty sure it doesn't affect the outcome of this game, and I think this is still a worthwhile game, even without the adaptive plating. For our first turn, we are just going to create a might and agility by discarding our agile windup. We can arsenal Blood Rush Bellow. We keep Ascend Packing, which is a great card. We keep a blue in order to pay for this Blood Rush. How do we want to play out this hand? We know that we are going to play this Smashing Performance. So we need to keep at least Smashing Performance and a blue. Everything the Dash is doing is really just damage. The opt on Data Link is not super relevant, and it is just 5 damage overall. So with our agility, I'm really inclined to keep as many cards in hand as we can. If we pitch a blue for Smashing Performance, we discard either our agile windup, Send Packing, or the card from the top of our deck. And no matter what happens, we are able to do something else as a follow-up. Likely not going to play Blood Rush Bellow this turn. We can wait for both our Tunic to tick up to 3, and I really don't want to take the risk that I discard my Smashing Performance. Playing it turn 2 is really strong when we know that we can hit a 2 counter Teklo Pounder. Dash's follow-up to the Data Link, very weak. I think this is one of the big downsides of not starting with Induction Chamber, which lets Dash convert extra resources into damage, but she does choose to IP herself by keeping 2 cards in hand at the end of her turn. We are going to start with Smashing Performance. We are going to pitch our Pound Town, really hoping to draw into another blue so that we can play our Send Packing. We do draw and discard a yellow Pulping, so we get to follow this up with Send Packing. A really, really strong turn from us. And we do get a maximum velocity out of Dash's arsenal. She gives us a lot to prevent this Send Packing from hitting, giving us Crown of Providence for no benefit and the front half of Teklo Foundry Heart. Honestly, I think she's committing too hard to keeping this maximum velocity. We will see what she can do with a 4-card max V hand. Very likely looking at 0-cost boost followed by Twin Drive. I am not looking at blocking here. I have my suspicion about what Dash is going to do, but if she does have the blue and Twin Drive in hand, then we know that she will follow up the 0 to 60. We will have an opportunity to get our fleshbag value. And that's exactly what she does. Pitching a blue, boosting twice, and we know for a fact that this last card in Dash's hand is Max V. So we'll be putting our fleshbag in front of the Twin Drive to stuff this turn. The question is, how do we want to follow this up? Do we want to block at all? With cards from hand, we know that we can Pulping, pitching yellow Pulping. We know that we could play our Blood Rush Bellow by pitching our yellow Pulping and have a fairly strong follow-up to that. Really hoping to keep red Pulping, if that is the case, or at least swing big. keeping Savage Feast probably not the best line. So what I might even want to do with this hand is block the Twin Drive with Savage Feast and Flesh Bag. Then on our turn, we can play Pulping, pitch Yellow Pulping, and see what we draw into. If we draw into a red, then we can use it and our Tunic to follow up with Claw. If we draw into a yellow or a blue, then we just Claw and save our Tunic. But I think without a blue in hand and with a Savage Feast, which is really not what I want to do on a Blood Rush turn, I think I'm actually inclined to go down to 3 cards in hand and just play defense here. But regardless, we are absolutely 100% blocking with Flesh Bag. The question is, are we blocking with anything else? And I make the choice not to. I do, again, think that's wrong. I think we would have been better off blocking for 3 with the Savage Feast. We will see on our Blood Rush turn if that decision was correct. In hindsight, always easier to judge, but I think at least as standard operating procedure, blocking with Savage Feast is correct when we don't have a agility. We do discard our Swing Big, which would have been an incredible follow-up to the Blood Rush. Thankfully, we do draw into some stronger cards than Savage Feast. We're going to open up with Pulping and just see if we can draw maybe into a blue. We do draw into a blue, we then immediately discard it. So left with kind of an awkward collection of cards here. We can pitch a Savage Feast to Claw, which is probably what we should do. We could also play the Savage Feast, discard the Assault and Battery, and hope we draw into something good for our arsenal. Those really are our 2 options. If we used our Tunic to attack with Claw, then we just IP ourselves because we cannot play either the Savage Feast or the Assault and Battery. Discarding our blue there was really unfortunate. I think the optimal line here is very likely to attack with the Savage Feast. We push 3 more damage this turn. We also get a card from our arsenal, and while we don't want a blue for the arsenal, there are very few cards that are bad in the arsenal, very few cards that I am unhappy to put into the arsenal. Even our blues are fine, so I do like following up this Pulping with a Savage Feast. Our other line would be to use Tunic and pitch Savage Feast to play Assault and Battery. I think that is really suboptimal. We get 1 more point of damage, and in doing so trade our Tunic and a card in Arsenal. So the Savage Feast, they're a bit of a risk. We draw a Bear Fang, which is really, really strong, but I think that was very well played from us, considering that we discarded the blue that we really wanted, as well as our Swing Big. Here we are just going to pitch Reckless Swing to play Pulping. I'm of the opinion that Pulping is basically always better than Wild Ride. Even if we miss, it does have Go Again and gets 2 non-equipment cards from Dash. Here, we know for a fact that she does not have a defense reaction in Arsenal. Not that we would expect this hybrid Dash running a boost plan to have defense reactions, but if she were to somehow fat stack us or try to screw with us by boarding in Sync Belows from Sideboard, we know that there is not one in the arsenal, so Pulping here is always going to have Go Again. Kind of a wacky follow-up draw where we are now on 2 reds. So we still are in a position where we cannot Claw and play one of these reds from our hand. We could Claw, then play our Bear Fangs from Arsenal, but I like having the Bear Fangs in Arsenal. I don't think we need to try so hard to maximize damage this turn. I think we can just play Swing Big, pitch our Wild Ride, and then sit on this Bear Fangs for a future turn. The alternative would be to use Tunic to pay for Claw, then pitch these 2 reds in our hand to Bear Fangs. We get 3 more damage, but we lose our arsenal, and I don't think that's good enough as just sending Swing Big. We could have also used our Tunic to play Wild Ride and hope to draw into something that lets us Claw or Bear Fangs. I suppose that would have been our highest value line. We see that we would have drawn into a Cast Bones, which we potentially discard. We potentially also keep it as a very, very strong follow to Wild Ride. So if I'm looking back, that was probably the line that we're supposed to take. Use Tunic, play Wild Ride, hope to draw into something that we can pitch to play Bear Fangs. Or in the best case scenario, we discard our Swing Big, we keep this Cast Bones, and then we get to play Cast Bones. The hand that we have here is pretty interesting, as we are now in a position where we don't want to IP ourselves by keeping 3 cards in hand and 1 card in arsenal to play Cast Bones, but we may also just not want to block with the Cast Bones. If we attack with Pulping, we have the option to overpitch. We can pitch our Cast Bones, then our Pound Town, float 2 resources, either keep this Bear Fangs in hand or possibly draw into hopefully a blue or a yellow so that we could Claw as a follow-up to Pulping, then pitch to Bear Fangs from arsenal. I think that's very likely our best option, as even if we keep a red in hand, we can use it and our Tunic to Bear Fangs from arsenal. So I like not blocking the pistol here and looking to Pulping, Claw, Bear Fangs. I don't see a world where we can play our Cast Bones without risking discarding it, and if we just Pulping for 6 and to get shut down by 2 cards from Dash's hand, I think that's pretty bad for us. Drawing into the red, we'll use our Tunic counter here, so we are just going to Claw Bear Fangs and push a lot of damage against Dash. We're in a great spot in this game right now. See what the draw discard is off of Bear Fangs. We hit our 5 power attack. Bear Fangs comes in for 8. We are going to push 5 damage over blocks and reset with a new hand. Drawing into not a very good hand of cards. We can use the Agile Windup to give our Mandible Claw go again, so we can attack with Claw, pitching a Reincarnate in reaction or resolution step. I like to do it in resolution, but you can do it in reaction as well. You discard Agile Windup as an instant. Mandible Claw now sees that a 6 power attack has been discarded and gets go again, and our follow-up to that is going to be playing Beast Within, pitching Reincarnate. The Agile Windup is going to make us a Might and an Agility, and while this is not presenting lethal, it is putting Dash down to a potential 1 and putting us in a position to kill her with 3 cards. Draw into Blood Rush Bellow with a very weak hand of cards around it. We are faced with Data Link for 3 with Go again. Similar to the first Data Link, we don't need to block this. We do need to keep in mind that Dash has a maximum velocity in Arsenal still, so whatever damage we're taking from the attacks that Dash is playing from hand, keep in mind that we are looking at another 10. We are effectively at 7 here. So what I'm thinking about with blocking is that I would like to keep 3 cards in my hand and I would like one of them to be Blood Rush Bellow and the other to be Savage Feast to take advantage of our agility. We play Savage Feast, we pitch Blood Rush Bellow, we discard our Assault and Battery, we draw into a card off the top of our deck. No matter what it is, we can pitch it to Claw. So between our Savage Feast, our Claw, and our Might, we are looking at a 11-point turn cycle, 10 of which is damage going at Dash's face. She needs to block 9 of it to not be dead. So we are going to put her down to 1 card in hand, and we still have armor left to block. So what I want is to block with either Assault and Battery or Savage Beatdown. I want to use my Bone Breaker as well to get a Might token so that we now attack for 11. Dash needs to block 10 of it, so she needs to give us 4 cards from hand. And what that means is I'm looking at where am I getting my 5 points of value. If we block this die through data for 5 with Beatdown and Apex Bone Breaker, we're losing value. So it may just be that we are intending to block the max fee. Looking at a throttle here, throttle would take us to 7 if it hits. We could block the max V for 5 and go down to 2. It looks like I'm going to block the throttle. I do think this is correct, and what I am thinking about is if Dash breaks the chain here to Foundry Heart up to 3 resources so that she can load her pistol, she can break her Achilles Accelerator to attack with the pistol, get another action point, and then max V us. So by blocking with armor here instead of on the max V, we then get to block with the armor again when Dash breaks the chain. She doesn't do that. Max V is just coming for 10. We need to keep these 3 cards in our hand. We don't really need to block with Tunic here. We could, but there really isn't a difference between 2 and 3 when we can always block with the Tunic later. So we are just going to say no blocks on this max V. I think what I was looking for there is how many Beast Withins are in my discard. How likely am I to draw a discard into a Beast Within? But considering that Savage Feast does not draw a discard, it just discards, I think that's a mistake. We could have just kept our Tunic to block with later. We draw into a red, which we will pitch to attack with Mandible Claw, depending on what Dash does here. If Dash gives us 3 cards, then I think attacking with Claw is still fine, but I also see a reason to just arsenal this Wild Ride. The most that Dash can do with a single card and core is 6. If that card in hand is a red Throttle, we would be able to block that with a 3 block from hand and 2 pieces of equipment. Instead, we are looking at a pistol for 2. This would take us to 1 if it hits. Looking at what we have in hand, very likely going to be pitch Wind Up, play Wild Ride, see what we draw into. We would hope to discard Send Packing and draw into a blue to claw Bare Fangs. Even if we draw into a red, we can pitch Send Packing to claw and arsenal our red, or we could pitch the red depending on what it is. I don't know that we need to block here. No, I do like that we're blocking here, excuse me. Talking about Beast Within, we are going to need to draw a discard to play this Wild Ride. So now if we go to 1, Beast Within is lethal, as opposed to now if we had done it, we go down to very likely 2, maybe even 1, but very unlikely that we die. Here we're going to play the Command and Conquer. We just want to take these 2 cards out of Dash's hand now that we don't have armor. It's very important that we strip Dash's hand whenever possible. We can also catch her with an item, which wouldn't block, and we would just kill her. Between 2 blues, Blood Rush Bellow, and a Command and Conquer, we are going to fire off this Blood Rush Bellow. I think we should have pitched the Wrecker Romp and try to keep Smash Instinct. Smash Instinct having Intimidate is very relevant. I don't know that it matters. In fact, I'm looking at this hand and it doesn't. We're going to get to Claw for 5, which takes 2 cards out of Dash's hand. Then play Savage Feast for 8, which kills Dash over blocking with the other 2 cards. But pretty relevant that Smash Instinct intimidates in a world where Dash is able to block out all of this damage. Then being able to intimidate a thing is really relevant. Let's say that this Savage Feast was a Smash Instinct. We can pitch 3 to play it, and then Dash only gets to block 3 instead of 6. As it is, she cannot cover all the damage, and so she dies. You can judge for yourself whether Dash having Adaptive Plating there would have won her the game. The extra point of block I don't believe would have been relevant. The extra 2 points of block on top of that may have been relevant on the second turn that she had a Teklo core and nothing to do with it besides attack with a pistol. Maybe getting 3 points of block would have been more relevant than 2 points of offense. Notably, we would have kept our armor in that case. But you could have seen something earlier where it would have been extremely relevant that Dash had that extra 3 points of block. But what went really well for us this game is the turn 2 smashing performance that sniped a Teklo Pounder with 2 counters on it. Also just generally good draws. We drew pretty well. We had a 15.25 average value per turn, 2 points higher than what Dash had. The Scowling Flashbag to snipe the Max V ahead of Dash playing it with a 4-card hand was very relevant. Dash did get to play the Max V later, but how long was that stuck in her arsenal because she no longer had Crown of Province to cycle it out? I think Kayo is overall favored against Dash. I think that smashing performance is a big part of that, but obviously meta dependent. If you don't expect any dashes in Los Angeles, or if there are no dashes or even mechanologists generally in your local scene, you could absolutely cut smashing performance. I play it against Dash, against Max, and against Kano. And against Kano, it's just pitch value for the most part. Every once in a while it can snipe a potion, but if you're not worried about mech or wizard, then cut it. But if you are worried about mech in particular, smashing performance is a tremendous silver bullet, so highly recommend it. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It's free. It helps me out a lot, no matter what you do. I will see you back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.